Welcome to GCA Unmuted, the podcast where we share the stories and strategies that show how Georgia Cyber Academy makes online learning work. Middle school is already a time of major change, but doing it virtually, that adds a whole new layer. Today, we're talking about how GCA supports students through some of the most pivotal years of development, from 6th through 8th grade online. Today, I'm joined by Harold Wisner, a middle grades teacher here at GCA who works closely with students during this unique and transformative stage, not just helping them learn, but grow, connect, and find their footing in a virtual environment. We'll explore how GCA bridges academic and social gaps in a virtual setting, how teachers build trust and structure from afar, and what makes this stage of learning so unique in the online world. Thanks for coming on the show, Harold.
Thanks for having me.
Can you share a story that captures what it's really like to support a middle schooler in the virtual model?
Um, so when I first came to GCA, my biggest concern was relationship building, right? Without relationships, without trust, as you mentioned, there is no relationship. And that makes it really hard to support. So with the use of the chat, it allows us to build that rapport with kids that were often overlooked in brick and mortar. Either they were just quiet, they were reserved themselves just by nature, or there was so much chaos and behavior issues that teachers are dealing with, it never allowed those children to shine. So, student 2 years ago, I love it when my students come back and keep contact with me. You know, the ones that would come into the classroom, now they send you an email. First half of the year, he failed. He failed my class first half of the year. Second half of the year, he ended with a 94%.
Wow.
Because it takes that much time to break down the barriers and help build their confidence and teach them the skills to do what they need to succeed in the classroom. And it was that private chat and him allowing me in to build that over time, right? So it's not, I didn't give up on him on the first semester because he failed. That's all right, bud. We got a whole new semester that we're going to start all over again, and we're going to make it work. All right, just use what you learned in the first semester because you started really good to build it at the end. Let's carry that through the second semester. Well, last year, going into 8th grade, within the first week, he emailed me, Mr. Wisner, thank you so much for everything you taught me last year because I'm using it in 8th grade and I'm doing great from the beginning. And I'm like, that's it, bud. That's what I'm talking about. You know, so it's,
That's
and you
awesome.
see it all the time. You know, it's one example of many.
Yeah, what a cool story. I love that. What do you think were the challenges that that student specifically faced that made him go from like I failed first semester to 94%? That's huge. What do you think those challenges really were?
Maturity,
Mm.
distractions at home, um, desire, right? At 7th grade, one of the things he said, you're the first male teacher that I had. So he
Oh,
never
wow.
had a male teacher. So he was looking for that male guidance, that male structure. Um, and if you ever watch me teach, I'm a goofball. So I say I do 5 Vegas shows a day. That's what I do. Um, and I think me being a male in the classroom at 7th grade allowed him to make that connection that he needed to make that he couldn't make with the female teacher, right? And as the male students need to make strong positive connections with both male and female teachers, and so do the female students, they need to make those connections. But him never experiencing that before in the classroom, that gave him a little bit of a boost. And us being able to connect on things like the outdoors, hunting, fishing, just going, hanging out in the woods, we made that personal connection. And then he's like, I want to please him, right? I like him. I want to please him. And then that helps to build that, how can I not work for myself, but he works for the teacher? And then it's like, how can I get him to not work for me, but to work for himself? Right? You're
Right.
not doing this for me. You're doing this for you.
Mm, that's awesome. That's a great insight too. What do you think? So you mentioned the chat was something that was like that wasn't a hurdle, that wasn't an obstacle, but you used it as like a tool, something that was different from a brick and mortar to an online. So would you say the chat feature was the main way you connected with that student, or would you say it was something else?
Well, that's where it starts, right? So it's getting the kids on camera, as we know, has always been a challenge. This year is probably one of the best years of camera usage and camera policy we've seen. But
Mm,
the chat is that start, right? Because we have a private chat. It's not always public, right? So they don't have to come to you in a public format, right? In the brick and mortar, when a student stands up and walks to the teacher's desk to see, everybody's like, why they're going to the teacher's desk, right?
mhm.
So everybody knows. But then it can be both ways that you see a kid not quite doing what they need to do. You can address them privately instead of in the middle of class and calling them out. You can draw them in, and they can also come to you when they're struggling or they have concerns without anybody else knowing, right? And then that builds the confidence that, you know what, as I look around, I'm not the only one that have these questions. I'm not the only one that has these struggles. And if I can come to the teacher publicly, like other people are coming to the teacher publicly, we all see that we're all having these struggles. We're all having these challenges. Now work together as a team, right? Our classroom should be a family. We're doing this together. We're not just going to survive together, but we're going to thrive together. But it's a
Yeah.
process. It can take to the second half of the school year to get them to even start on that journey.
Yeah. No, and would you say that the chat feature, being able to do things publicly or privately, you said in the brick and mortar, they're going to see it publicly. They don't have that really private option. So would you say that's one way that GCA is really supporting students
Oh, absolutely.
differently from the brick and mortar is the chat feature being this public and private opportunity? Would you say there's something else? Would you want to add something else to that in terms of how GCA is supporting students differently when you look at this story of this student, or no? Is that the main thing you would hit on, is that chat
Well,
feature being public and private?
there are just so many opportunities for us to support those students. Um, I mean, the chat starts out, then you build confidence in them in email. Really not pulling kids out in uh, breakout rooms. Some teachers do that. Some teachers, a breakout room is definitely an opportunity to step aside with a child. Like you'd step a child in the hall, you can step them out in breakout room. But with the chat, it's that private conversation to build their confidence. Other communication we have is verbal on the mic. Not all the kids are confident with that. We definitely do a lot of reading in our class, group reading, because a lot of our kids, they need the opportunity to read, they need the opportunity to read out loud, and they need the opportunity to be read to, right? If there's challenging with reading comprehension, writing skills, they need to see proper reading skills being modeled, right? So they see the teacher modeling those skills, they see peers modeling those skills, and then they see students struggling modeling those skills, but we're all together supporting them, right? So we have a kid who might have a stutter or just challenge in reading in general and sounding out, and we're sounding out words. We had the word interconnectedness on the screen the other day for the interconnectedness with human beings and the environment. And it was one of the hard words for the day. And everybody worked through it and nobody was embarrassed to work through it, right? Because everyone, when they were done, everybody was like, great job. Yeah, you made it through. So, the kids are supporting you on chat, but being able to use that mic. And one of the things I found talking to parents and students, from the first question I asked is, what brought you to GCA? Why did you choose us? Why did you trust us to deliver your child's education? And a lot of times it's safety and bullying and brick and mortar, right? So when all of these kids are coming together and many of them having the same challenges out there, they come in here and be like, it's a safe space. We all came here to avoid that. And now we can all work together, right? So it's not just the teachers supporting the students, but the students supporting the students. And then they get that love and compassion from each other, not only from us.
I
So,
love that. And you might have just answered this question because you're talking about making sure you create an environment where students feel supported, where they feel safe, where they feel able to read on the mic, for example, and not be, chastised for not being able to say interconnectedness, for example. But what would you say are the most important priorities when you're teaching middle schoolers virtually? Is it that creating that environment where students do feel like, hey, this is a safe space, or would you add to that? Would you say something else?
So I'm co-taught, so I have a teacher with me. Last 2 years, we just make an excellent team. So that having a male female team in the classroom over the last 2 years have definitely proved to increase that support. But I believe in patience and grace, right? So do unto others you want done unto you. Treat the students with the same love, kindness, and respect that you want them to treat you, right? As teachers, we make mistakes. We have all kinds of this coming at us, that coming at us. We got to make assignments, and we make a mistake from time to time. And sometimes people aren't happy when we make mistakes, right? But with the students, we're trying to teach them that compassion with each other, that understanding that it's okay to make a mistake, but now let's learn from it, right? So by us giving them that patience and grace, that classroom environment within the relationship of trust. Trust is the foundation of all relationships. So there's times like today we modeled the social studies fair project, right? So I did the project as if I was a student and I walked through it out loud, making mistakes. I picked a map and I put the map in the project. Like, oh, no, I really don't like that map. This map doesn't have this, this, and this. Maybe I need to pick another map, right? So I'm talking through my head what I want them to talk through in the assignment. So it's like putting myself in those shoes, right? And part of that was also walking. Not everybody has the same computer skills, right? So we were teaching them how to pull that image and implant it and insert it into an assignment, into a document. And then I didn't like it. How do I get rid of it? How do I change it? How do I adjust it? Right? So it's knowing that we are a team, right? So there is a hierarchy in the classroom. I am teacher, you are student. We need to maintain that, but we're still on the same team. I am here for you. I'm not against you. When push comes to shove, I got your back. If I make a mistake because I didn't word something right in an assignment or I messed up on points or something, I'm going to make it right. So that's modeling to them behavior that's going to help them be more successful when they get out in other relationships, right? Social studies is all about relationships, the relationship between man and man, between country and country, between country and the environment, between man and money, right? So it's all different types of relationships. And how do we model that, right? We want to make education applicable. How do we apply it? Seventh grade social studies. When am I ever going to learn, use this about Africa? Okay, well, this is how we make it real. This is how it becomes relevant to you. And it's shaping that for me in seventh grade social studies around relationships. And they see, especially we have that male-female dynamics in the classroom. And we tell the students, like, there's things we disagree on, right? But our relationship is more important than being right in a disagreement, right? We tell them even things that we don't do in class, we model that relationship in class, and then we explain to them our relationship outside of class as an example of how they should express themselves in email, in chat, in verbal communication. It's skills that are not just going to get them through seventh grade, but skills that are going to get them through high school and college and in the real world.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like one of the biggest teaching strategies you're using is modeling, obviously. So how do you encourage students to be independent while still offering support? How do you cultivate that in your classroom?
Perfect question. The number one question, as you have a 16-month-old, they're going to get to a time where they're going to say, why, but why, right? So we know as teachers the concept of gradual release of responsibility. So we teach the kids gradual release of responsibility, but we just don't only teach it to them. We explain it to them what it is, right? We don't just do it over the course of the year and we never mention the word gradual release of responsibility. Okay, guys, this is how we're going to start out now. So many months later, we're not going to do it this way anymore. So all of our PowerPoints my PowerPoints are accessible to the students, right? They are forced to make a copy. That is their guided notes. They have to go into Canvas. They have to click on it. It forces them to make a copy. They have the copy. I tell them, I have things highlighted, but I don't have everything highlighted that's important. You need to use the tools, annotation, highlight, underline. You can print them out. There's activities inside that you can do. If I'm using the same PowerPoint Monday through Thursday, listen, guys, I'm going to give this to you on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm not going to share it with you again. You need to go to Canvas and get it, right? So and this is that gradual release of responsibility that we're talking about. I'm going to help you here, but you're going to get to a time in life that people aren't going to help you with it, right? That you're not relying on us to give it to you. I tell you, everything's on a Canvas platter, right? We had a silver platter as a kid. Everything's on a Canvas platter, right? So over the course of the year, we're going to give you more and more responsibility to do it on your own. There's going to come a time that we're not going to give you the link to the PowerPoint and you're expected to come to class with it, just like you had your own textbook, right? So we explain to them that process, that growing in responsibility, and with freedom comes responsibility. What do seventh graders want? They want freedom. They want ability to make choices, right? So we tell them, we give you choices, but we give you choices within a safe space. You can choose from A, B, or C. All of them are great choices, but you can only choose from A, B, or C, right? So then they can build their confidence in making those choices and say, oh, I can make hard choices. I can do big things. And it's that growing process from the beginning of the year to the end of the year in preparation for when the teachers are like, I don't know, find it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great point. It's like the two extremes of like holding their hand and then, hey, you figure it out. So
Yeah.
that's great. And I love those different examples you used. Middle school, such a social age. I mean, obviously most ages are social, but you've mentioned relationships, you emphasize relationships, but how do you actually create those relationships and that community in your virtual classroom?
Um,
Besides the modeling that you mentioned of
yes.
you've been modeling obviously between you and your co-teacher, you model that good relationship, which is huge. I just didn't know, is there something else specifically? You mentioned, they're commenting in the chat, they're on the mic with each other,
So
is
relationships take time. Relationships take time. My greatest strength is I'm a comedian in the classroom, right? I will say something that is very cattywampus, appropriate, of course, but cattywampus. And if I don't get a reaction on camera or in chat, then I wonder if you're paying attention, right? So then it allows me to target in on who, like, they're like, what's this guy going to say next? What's he going to say next? I have parents, I'll talk to a parent. Oh, your social studies teacher. Oh, you're so funny, right? So that they hear that, right? So that it's keeping them focused on me through the antics or verbiage, whatever I use at the time. Um, and it's humanizing me, right? We're just an image on a screen, but we're humans. We don't want them to just be a black box. They're
right.
humans too, right? So it's acknowledging that we're both humans. We're both in here. And I tell the kids, I'm like, are these things you like to do when you're not in the classroom? Oh, yeah. I play video games. Would you rather do that right now? Yeah, yeah. You know what? I would sure love to be hunting, sitting in a tree stand right now. But, right?
Sure.
But I love my job, right? I remind them I love my job. I'm here because I want to be here,
Mhm.
right? And so you talk to the GCA has revitalized so many people's desire to teach because the change of the model. So now we love our job, right? So if we like being there and we enjoy being there, then they enjoy being there as well. And then they want to spend time with us, right? When they get to the point that like they're disappointed that you were out for the day or they're disappointed they had a doctor's appointment and they missed class, I did my job
Yeah.
because that means they want to spend time with us as a class. Content is second. I teach students. I don't teach content,
Mm.
right? Tell me whatever content you want. I'll teach it. Whatever standards you want, I'll teach it. But in the end, I'm still teaching students. Now, it might change a little bit depending on the age of how you implement that. But no matter what, I'm still teaching students. I'm teaching young adults on the other side of that screen. And I remember as a kid, You're going through the grocery store and you see your teacher and you're like, they wear pants. Huh?
Yeah.
They go shopping. They
Yeah.
eat meat. I
You're
don't
like,
even see her eating a salad. Right. And it's like, that's a human breed. It's just like it blows our mind. So now they don't even see us in person. So now it's creating that same shared experience within the classroom. I
love
hope that
that.
answered your question.
For sure. No. And it's that's a great insight that you mentioned that parents, they overhear you in the classroom teaching. And then if you talk to them, they're like, "Oh, you're the social studies guy. You're the like that's so funny and just a great reminder that you're doing your thing and parents, if they're around, or family members, if they're there too. They might not be in the chat box or whatever on camera, but they're there and they're listening and paying attention to you. So what a great reminder.
Right. They invited us into their home. That's what they did. They invited us into their home, right? And we invite our students into our home, right? We don't use the background in class because it makes class act wonky sometimes. So it's like I just gave up on it, right? So I've like, there's the dog,
Sure,
right?
sure.
Look at him, he's being a knucklehead. You hear the dog, but right.
Yeah.
So just as we're inviting each other into each other's home, it's just another intimate level of connection.
Mm. Okay. If we were talking to another teacher, if you're talking to another teacher, it's a virtual teacher, it's a traditional teacher, whichever. What's one practice or a mindset that you have found is especially powerful for you in supporting middle schoolers? What would you share with that teacher, virtual or traditional, that's like, hey, this has really made a difference in supporting students, this practice or this mindset?
Forgiveness. Every day is a new day, right? So, uh, you know, even in brick and mortar, you have a kid that makes you want to pull your hair out. And by the end of the day, it's just honest talk, right? You talk to any teacher, they're going to tell you the same thing. All right. I've had enough.
Mm,
Okay. But the next day when they walk in, hey, bud, how you doing? Hi, Flipper. Right. It's like it's a new day. We need to start fresh the very next time we see them. Right. So if we're um, correct using classroom management, even in virtual, of our expectations. And we have to address the entire class as something. Listen, we're not mad, we're not disappointed. We're just letting you know what's most functional. This is what makes life work most effectively. This is the behavior that we expect that's going to make all of our day more enjoyable.
mm,
No matter how much it was a pain yesterday, today's a new day.
mm,
Or first period, got to answer the email on lunch for the same student. Hey, I hope we're having a better day. Right. So it's starting fresh, having that forgiveness of the situation and just starting over. Like they're human, they make mistakes too. So do we. We have bad days. They had bad days. We don't know what's going on. I know we have children who watch their infant siblings. Okay. We have kids, seventh graders, beating siblings.
mm,
Okay. And everybody's just trying to do the best they can with where they're at in the moment. And
mm.
sometimes that's tough. Seventh grader, I didn't sleep all night. My baby brother was up crying. I'm just not into it today.
Sure.
Okay, I understand. I get you.
Yeah.
Okay, what can I do to help you for your day?
Mm.
Ah,
That's
I'm not going to read today. That's okay. You read every other day. Don't worry about it. I got you.
mm.
Right.
Love that. That's great. Such a powerful reminder, forgiveness. What do you think if you're thinking about systems, more big picture about GCA? What do you think GCA gets right when it comes to supporting students that are in middle school? You're not quite that elementary kid, but you're also not quite that teenager in high school. So what do you think in this in-between age, this middle school age? It's a difficult age.
It
What do
is.
you think?
Everybody laughs. You're like, you teach seventh grade? You're crazy.
Yeah.
No.
What do you think GCA gets right if you think like big picture wise when they approach supporting middle school students?
I'm going to have to say the holistic approach, the whole person, the whole family approach. We have our family engagement liaisons. We have teams throughout GCA that are not in the classroom, that are doing things on the backside that we may never even know about unless we put in the request that, this child's struggling. How can we help them outside of the classroom, right? The barriers and challenges of this child or this family are beyond me. I can't help them with that. But I know somebody who can. And I know a survey that I can fill out to send this student's name to somebody else, and that person is going to be there very quickly. I'm starting to get teared up because I've watched how quickly it happens. I can't help this child, but I can send them to somebody who can, and they're there. I don't have to wait till 4 o'clock in the afternoon for them to get connected with that person.
Sure.
We make it happen, whether it's counseling or FELs, or we have so many layers of support for different types of needs and barriers, both for the student inside the classroom and for the families at home. And when you have the FEL that is with you from kindergarten to 12th grade, that's a 12-year relationship you have with that family. That is a strong bond. I've listened to FELs who's cried at graduations because they've been with that child for so long. It's like watching their own child graduate.
Yeah, that's powerful. What do you think are the practices you've seen at GCA that you think could work either online or brick and mortar traditional settings? Are there any practices that we're doing at GCA that you're like, oh man, if schools just did this, like I think this could work at other online schools. I think this could work in a brick and mortar traditional setting. Is there anything like either big picture that you could say could apply in either online or traditional settings?
Well, they can't turn the chat off in brick and mortar, so that's out of the question. I do believe we are trailblazers in education. We have a lot of things to offer. One of the challenges is not to try to repeat BAM, right? There's a lot of aspects of BAM that people aren't happy with. They're trying to escape from, and virtual is an alternative education. With that alternative education, we have to offer alternative means, right? We can't try to mimic what they do in brick and mortar and apply it to this virtual setting. One, it doesn't work because they're just different. But one thing that we do here is GCA listens to its staff. GCA listens to the families. I haven't always seen that in brick and mortar, right? They give out surveys. How did this work? And then next year we come in and say, listen, this is what we heard from the parents. 3 assignments a week from every content area is way too much. It's overloading the kids. We need to cut that back. Okay, that's too much. That's not what we're here for. That's not giving us meaningful learning. It's just overloading us and creating anxiety. Let's change what we're doing, right? So coming to the teachers and saying, all right, this is what we're doing. How is it working for you? How can we change that implementation? We hear the word stakeholders. We are a team, all right? You and I have crossed paths a few times. PD, face-to-face community day. We might not work together per se, but we're still a team, right? And we can both learn from each other to implement on the bigger picture. Because why? Because we both serve humans. That's what we do. We serve our students.
Oh,
So listening to the needs while at the same time, there are things we can't cave to because this is what they need, right? So there are some things like, this is the standard that Georgia puts forth. This is what we're teaching, right?
Sure.
We need homework. We can't have new homework. There
Sure.
has to be some homework. We need ways to practice what we're going over. We need ways to assess how we're doing things. We used to have 6 IAs a year. We don't have 6 IAs a year. We have 4, which makes total sense. We have a midterm and first semester final. We have a second semester midterm and a second semester final. That makes total sense to me. 6 IAs a year, way too much.
Sure.
They listened to that, and they implemented that. You don't always get that communication, that teamwork with community, with faculty, with administration, with big administration in brick and mortar.
Yeah, that's a fantastic insight to be the type of organization, to be the type of place that is humble enough to listen to feedback, but not only listen to it, but to implement it where you can and where it makes sense. That's cool. And it sounds like you're saying that's the kind of thing happening at GCA
Yeah,
and
100%.
other schools should follow suit. I imagine, Harold, that these would be fighting words for you. But what would you say to a teacher or a parent who just doubts and says, virtual school? That can't work for middle school students. No way. That's not even possible. What are you doing? You're wasting your time. What would you say to a teacher or a parent that thinks that or says that to you?
Well, you must have did your research to really come at me with some hard. That is a wonderful question because I've gotten that question. I've had students in the classroom say, "That's not real school." I've had teachers, other teachers in brick and mortar, "That's not real school." It's real school. It's not traditional education, but it's real school. And I'm going to tell you why it works better. Okay. Now, at the same time, there are some things, depending on the individual, virtual education is not for everybody, just like brick and mortar isn't for everybody. My wife and I are alternative school advocates. All of our children have either been in virtual education, private school, or charter schools. And we found a charter school saved our middle son's education. He wanted nothing to do with school in elementary school. This is stupid. When am I ever going to learn this? I want to go have fun. We found an arts academy charter school. He graduated college summa cum laude. Like
Wow.
what?
Awesome.
And it's because of the teachers in that arts academy and their structure and their focus on the holistic child, right? He was into arts. So he got to do half his day art, half his day academic. He got a full academic accredited experience, but he also got that aspect of self-expression. And it made him want to be in school, right? So um, again, it's not for everybody. Okay. Some people it's not going to work for, and that's okay. You have to find what works for you. But in the big picture, for the most part, you're not going to miss out on anything. And like when COVID hit, people were like, oh, the social aspect. Some of the worst places of socialization are on the school bus, on the playground, at lunch, and in the locker room. That's where the worst cases of socialization happen, right? How much socializing are they doing in the classroom? Okay. So now we have socialization, open socialization, because we have the chat in a structured and observed environment, not a free for all on the bus. And that's where all those dangerous social interactions occur. So there's safety that comes with this. And going back to the modeling of the things that happen in the classroom, that's why we don't share gaming handles. We don't share passcodes. I'm not a gamer. I don't know all that
Yeah,
lingo.
cell phone or whatever.
Yeah, so we don't share that stuff in chat. But you go to community day, you come in contact with somebody from class in community day, and you and your parents make a decision that you can share information, you can do that. But so it's a safe place
Right.
for that socialization. And now we have school space, right? The new initiative of school space that started last year that the kids can spend their PBIS points for or earn time in that school place. And it gives them that playground area that they can play games with other kids and interact with other kids, the socialization that they want, but it's still monitored. It's still safe. We don't have to worry about the things that we don't want our children to be subjected to that steals their innocence.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. That's a great point, Harold, having a more structured oversight with the socialization that does occur, because it would be untrue to say there's no socialization at
Oh
GCA.
yeah.
There is. So you're absolutely right. Leave us with this, Harold. What is the biggest lesson, or it doesn't have to be the biggest, just a lesson that's popping out to you? What is a lesson you've learned about teaching middle schoolers virtually while you've been here at GCA?
Mm, that's not going to teach you. They're human. They're not animals anymore. Sometimes they're no, um, no, they want to learn. They want the experience. We just have to give them the opportunity for it. All right, we have to have that structure of building up. I refer back to Erickson's stages of development a lot, and building that trust and going through those developmental stages, and that they're capable, they can do big things, and there is hope, okay, for their future, that they are. But again, we have to give them certain tools. We have to help grow them with their own desire and work ethic, and they're a lot of fun. We have so much fun in our classroom, right? We have comedians, we just banter, and it's just a good time, right? We can enjoy being together.
I love that. I love that. The reminder that they're people, they're not just a grade, but
Yeah,
they're a
yeah.
student, you know.
That's the assignments we're doing now. It's like it's not about the grade, guys. It's about the process. We're here. We're going to do it with you. Okay. Not everybody has had the opportunity to, mom and dad are working. You come latchkey, you come home and you don't necessarily sit down and do your homework at the table. You come home and do video games. Right. And then, oh yeah, I got homework and it's 9:30 at night. Right. I remember a kid looking, I assign an assignment and I go back to see when the assignment was done and it's like 3:30 in the morning. What are you doing up at 3:30 in the morning doing your assignment? Right. But it's just being there for them. Like, oh, I love
Remember
my
it.
job. Did I tell you that I love my job?
Yeah.
I did. I couldn't
Yeah,
see myself doing anything else.
that's awesome. Well, you've got a gift for it and you're doing big things here, Harold. So here's today's big idea. With the right structure, the right support, and the right mindset, middle school students can not only thrive in a virtual school, but grow in ways that prepare them for high school and beyond. So thanks again to Harold for sharing your experience and insight. And if this episode sparked something new for you, be sure to subscribe and join us next time on GCA Unmuted Voices of Virtual Education. Thanks, Harold.
Thank you.